haven't done any DVDs, but if you had...
Look, there's one other film which is out, which I wanted to mention, but we ran out of time, so I didn't get a chance to do it, which is You've Been Trumped, which is a documentary about Donald Trump, he of the lick it
After
and
the week
stick
I've
it
had,
hair.
this doesn't sound like my kind of film.
No, it's okay. Well, I'll tell you something about it in a minute that will sell it to you. About his efforts to build what he describes as the best golf course in the world in Scotland. And you've obviously been following this story, that originally when he wanted to do it, and a lot of people said, actually, no, that's a site of incredible natural beauty, and we don't think it would be a good idea to allow people to go over there and bulldoze it and turn it into... And more importantly, there are people living there who don't want to move. So the planning permission was refused. And then higher-ups said, well, hang on a minute, let's have a look at that. There's lots of money, lots of jobs, and the go-ahead did indeed happen. This documentary looks at what happened from the point of view of the people living in the few houses who did not want to sell to Donald Trump. Some of whom Donald Trump described as living like pigs, living in ugly houses that he didn't want his...
Such a charmer.
He didn't want his rich clients to have to see. In fact, there is one clip at one point, which I think is taken from one of his television programs, in which he's on the building site and he looks out over one of the houses. He says, "Get rid of that house." And the woman says, "Well, the people live there." "Oh, I don't care. I don't care how you do it. Just do it." And the documentary is quite extraordinary on a number of levels. One is that I, went in to watch it thinking it was just going to be kind of, an entertaining story. And I was really surprised by just how angry it made me. I mean, just how much. And bear in mind, what I know about this is what I know about from the documentary. But I have to say, from the documentary, it comes across that the people that live in those houses were treated very, very badly. And it did appear that if you throw enough money at something, you will essentially what happens is this area of outstanding natural beauty does indeed get turned into a massive building site. Their water suddenly mysteriously stops flowing into their houses. They're without water for weeks. They have electricity problems. At one point, one of the filmmakers gets arrested for apparently the crime of attempting to film what's happening to these people. Meanwhile, Donald Trump turns up once every now and then with his Mr. Whippy haircut. I mean, I know, honestly, I can't complain about anybody.
No, but he has the most preposterous hair.
It's just like we just want to go, Donald, you're bald. Just take it off. Just take it off. But anyway,
it's funny. Why does he not?
I know. I mean, why does he think with all that money that actually? Anyway, whatever. So he looks like an idiot and he behaves like a monster in this documentary. And but the thing that will charm you is that the documentary keeps, it has as its sort of root pattern local hero. And it keeps cutting backwards and forwards between the situations in Local Hero. The whole thing about Ben, we got a problem with Ben's Beach. What's that? Well, it turns out it really is Ben's Beach. He really does own it. And you remember the whole thing about Local Hero and then Ben living in that hut, the ramshackle hut on the beach. And they keep saying, well, why doesn't he want to move? He said, well, I'm still working this beach. And they make that comparison between that and some of the people who are living in this extraordinary area that Donald Trump's empire wants to get rid of. And actually, it works rather well. It works rather strongly because the situation in Local Hero is completely different. The gag in Local Hero is that the locals all want to sell up because they see the money coming. But it manages a quite interesting feat of, I think any film that quotes Local Hero does so at its peril because Local Hero is so good, you have to have a really good reason for quoting it. But I think this does a rather good job. And it does come out of it as a David and Goliath struggle. And it was really genuine again. And I watched it and I was surprised at how angry it made me, which I think was a good thing.
In a kind of an Erin Brockovich social campaigner kind of way.
Yeah, except that she got up and did something and I just went, oh, that's a bit. I went to the fridge.